Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the 2020 fall athletic season here at the Canandaigua City School District. My name is Jim Simmons. I'm the athletic director here, and I'm very excited that we have an opportunity for fall athletics. Tonight, I'm going to talk a little bit about our guidelines for student success as we face everything together in these challenging times. We are in this together, and we want to save our season for the teams that are able to compete in those low and moderate risk sports that have been approved by the governor. We want to have success. Our goal is to get through this season and really get through it in a positive way. I want to thank you for listening tonight. Just a little quote here. Change is inevitable, but growth is optional. So it's coming at us and things are going to change. Whatever protocols and plans that we've been developing for literally month and a half could change at any given time. So we ask that you please be nimble and understand that what we thought would work may not be working, or the governor may change the guidelines or the rules, or the state may come out and say that this isn't working, you need to do things differently. So we ask that you please understand that we're going to do the best we can every day, but changes may happen throughout the season. Our league has taken a little bit of an approach that's a little more conservative. We've waited an extra week longer than the Finger Lakes and some other areas, only because we wanted more data. We wanted 2 weeks of school data of kids being in school before we started sports. So we start on the 28th, which is this coming Monday, and our modified program, some schools didn't decide to do a modified program, but we did, because we felt that modified sports and those 7th and 8th grade student athletes really need to be engaged. They're going to start October 5th. These are later starts and they're shorter seasons, but the bottom line is we wanted our kids to have an opportunity to thrive and participate and be engaged in the things that they love. Stepping back a little bit, wanted to just provide some background in terms of our governor, who has really given us the guidelines and the approvals or non-approvals to get started. We got an update on August 24th. He talked about low and medium risk sports being able to participate this fall. And those, as you can see, are cross country, field hockey, boys and girls soccer, girls swimming, and tennis. There are some high-risk sports that unfortunately are typically fall sports that are not going to be able to take place. They will be doing some off-season training. I know that. We've already talked to some of those folks, and there'll be opportunities for kids to train and practice and work out, but it'll be done in different scenarios, and there won't be any games. And that would be cheerleading, football, and volleyball. So following the governor's announcement, we put together a task force on COVID-19 from the State High School Athletic Association, and they released some guidance and some documents for us to use as we developed our protocols to have a successful fall. Part of those recommendations were moving those high-risk sports such as football, cheer, and volleyball over to what we call fall season 2, and I'll talk more about that in just a minute. So our winter season is planned to start November 30th, just for folks looking ahead, wondering. Those are the sports that we typically have in the winter with a November 30th start date and a February 27th, end date. And please note that the pictures that you're going to see in this presentation are pre-COVID, so the distancing isn't there. Don't want folks to think we're breaking any rules. And the fall season 2, as I mentioned earlier, with cheerleading, football, and volleyball, will be March 1st. And we're not sure exactly on the end date yet. And finally, our spring season is going to start April 19th with a bit of an overlap with that fall too. And our typical spring sports will be offered. And great sports, lots of success here in Canandaigua and all those. We're very excited. They might miss the snow this year, starting on April 9th. What about those other sports that aren't in session right now? Well, they'll have an opportunity to train beginning on the 28th as well. And they'll have similar protocols in terms of temperature checks and screenings that will have to occur before those training opportunities can occur. Coaches will be putting out information, and athletes will be getting together in different locations throughout the district. Although they won't be having games, they'll be able to train like they typically do in the off season. Well, I shouldn't say typically, because nothing's typical this year. So what does it look like every day? What are the protocols we're going to have to follow to be successful? That's the next document that we're looking at, is the COVID-19 guidance for schools. And this is from the Department of Health from the state. And it's going to be a lot of work for coaches, and athletes are going to have to be patient. And we ask that you please understand that we're doing these things so we can have this season. And everybody, if you can please be diligent with masks, be diligent with distancing. Understand that we're going to ask coaches to do more. They're going to be taking temperature checks of athletes and themselves to make sure that they're not over 100 degrees. There'll be daily attendance taken every day so that we can do contact tracing if by chance we have cases that do occur. We have safety protocols in place for our athletes. We're going to ask that they are diligent about hand washing, and we'll have hand sanitizer available. We're going to put together what we call COVID-19 kits that will have a variety of items like towels and cleaning spray and gloves and masks for each team, so that they have the tools they need to make sure kids are safe. Now, in terms of student athletes and water, this is one of the areas that gets dicey. We can't have any sharing of supplies or clothing, and even water. We're going to ask kids to bring their own water bottles, and that should probably be either multiple water bottles or a very large water bottle, because kids, we don't want student athletes touching water fountains. We want you to bring the water you need for the workout. If a kid runs out of water by chance, if that circumstance does occur, we're not going to leave somebody in a situation where they may get dehydrated. But we'd like to minimize those situations. We will have water available if necessary, but we do ask that kids bring what they will need for the day. There's been a lot of discussion all over about mask use and when do you have to wear a mask and what sports do you have to wear a mask? Well, obviously, if you're swimming in a pool, you're not wearing a mask. Well, what about when you're not in the pool? So let me just talk a little bit about some of the specifics. Athletes should bring a mask to every practice, every contest, and every team function. Bring a mask, make sure you have it with you. And you're expected to wear it when there's not a 6-foot distance maintained consistently. Coaches will go over some of these details with kids as well. However, there are some instances. There's going to be times when a kid may be at practice or in a game when they just simply, quote, cannot tolerate the use of a mask. If that is the situation, and an athlete is in a situation where they're raising their heart rate and they're running and they can't wear it, they need to let their coach know. Once the coach is notified, during that physical training, they will not have to wear a mask. There's no definition from the Department of Health on what as tolerated means, cannot tolerate it. We need to take the word of the student athlete. If they feel they can't tolerate a mask, they will not need to wear it during practice, training, competition, etc. But when they come off the court or off the field, they do need to wear the mask. So what are we going to actually do each day? Coaches will use a touchless thermometer, and they'll take results. If a student athlete is over 100 degrees, they will not be able to participate. Parents will be notified, and I will be notified as your athletic director, and I will be in touch with folks that need to know at the Department of Health and you, and we'll go from there. Hopefully we won't have those situations. Transportation. It's been a challenge for the last 5 years, having enough bus drivers to get our kids where they need to go and get there on time. Well, due to the COVID situation, things have gotten even rougher. A number of our drivers are older, and we've lost drivers who've decided they didn't want to do this anymore and put themselves in what they saw as potentially risky situations due to age or conditions, etc. So everybody that I know of district-wide, districts all over are struggling finding drivers. So as kind of a stopgap measure, what we've implemented this year is we're going to allow parents to transport students to contests. Now, That is only if we cannot find transportation. Our expectation is that kids will be on the bus with the team and you work with your coach. However, if we cannot provide enough buses, especially now when a 66 passenger bus may only be able to take 20 athletes due to distancing and sitting in certain spacing scenarios, we are going to allow parents, and even parents that are willing to take other student athletes is possible. We have a transportation form that can be filled out in advance with approval from your coach, both sets of parents and myself in advance, and that can happen. But we need to work through these situations. We don't want to leave kids behind. We want to make sure that no child is in a situation where they feel like they can't fit, or a coach has to make a decision to leave somebody home. We're going to do everything we can to work with you as parents to get kids to games. Game days are going to look different. Game days are going to be difficult because of the restrictions on the number of spectators we can allow. We're going to clean and sanitize these areas before visiting teams arrive. Locker room use is going to be limited to home teams. Hand sanitizer will be available. We're going to make frequent announcements. We'll have supervisors available to make sure folks are distancing. But one of the key things here is that we're only going to be allowed, per the New York State Department of Health, to have 2 spectators per athlete available. So what we've decided to do, and a lot of folks have followed us, is create lanyards with the student athlete's name on it. Each kid will get 2 lanyards, and they can distribute them to family or friends, and they will be allowed to enter the contest. Re-entry will not be allowed, and spectators cannot stand outside at the fence and watch. It's going to be difficult. Nobody wants to be in this situation. I really feel for folks, but these aren't our rules. These are state guidelines. We're following them to the best of our ability, and the reason we're following them is because we want to keep our seasons alive. We want to make sure that we are doing things the right way so we don't get shut down. And essential personnel will be the only ones allowed inside the fence. In other words, no photographer, parent photographers, those kinds of things. We're going to be very limiting. We have to be very limiting on who comes to the contest and who's on the field, in the stadium, etc. Nuts and bolts of academic eligibility will be happening as it always does. It'll look a little different. We're not 100% sure on what our academic study hall program will look like, but student grades will be taken every 2 weeks. We will maintain high standards. Our goal is not to be punitive or to punish kids for not doing well in school. We know it's going to be harder than ever with a lot of the hybrid learning and remote learning and computer stuff that folks have to deal with. We're going to be flexible, but the bottom line is we will be taking grades every 2 weeks, and there's a chance that you may be ineligible if you're not doing your work. If you have 2 or more Fs, you would be ineligible for that approximate 2-week period. Teachers I know have been very flexible. In this scenario, kids will attend practice. Unfortunately, they cannot participate. Hope no kids get in this situation. Like I said earlier, our academic eligibility program is going to look differently. We're not 100% sure how the study hall will work. I'll be in touch with coaches and others and parents shortly, and we'll post some information on the website and get it out to you regarding the specifics. I'm working with building principals to see what's possible given the restrictions we have in terms of space and personnel. But if you are assigned to it, you do need to attend. As always, we have an extracurricular code of conduct. Our student athletes are held in high regard, and they're looked upon as role models. And it is extra. This is what they call extracurricular. And it's not just athletics, but it's other events and things that we do extracurricular-wise. You're expected to act accordingly and appropriately, show good character, stay away from vaping, stay away from any kind of illegal substances or alcohol. You're expected to be in school at least 50% of the day on the days that you're supposed to be here, and take care of your academics. We know things are different this year. We understand that. But if it is a day that you're supposed to be in school, you need to be here if you want to participate that day. And in terms of truancy, disciplinary, always make sure that you're taking care of business. We'll address those issues as they come. I'm hopeful and thankful that we're able to have athletics. Let's not do anything to jeopardize it for you personally or for your team. And physical education, as always, is mandatory to practice or play that day. Spectator code of conduct. We want to ask everybody, especially now, to be positive. We've been given a gift, an opportunity. We got to look at this as an opportunity, even though it's not a great situation. It's an opportunity for us to get out there and have our kids participating and practicing and engage in things that are healthy for them. Let's be positive. Let's support one another, and let's not yell at the officials. That's all I have for now. My name is Jim Simmons. As I said, my contact information is up there, 396-3825, or my email. My secretary is very responsive as well. Her name is Marcia Kovalovsky. If you look at her number and email, feel free to contact her. Try your coach first once you know who your coach is. If you can't find answers or if they're not available, feel free to contact us. I want to wish everybody a great fall and a great start to the school year, even though it's a challenge. We're behind you 100%. We're all in this together. As I said, let's have a great year. Thanks and enjoy your week.